when the clock hits 13. You've been working, but you're flirting with the weekend. You can freak out. 1 in a million. You're a gem shine when the light grows dim. Sing 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. 'Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like.
All right, I think we are live. Let me just see if I'm streaming over on Facebook as well. Hi, Instagram. Hi, Facebook. I should be over on the Whole Fit brand page, which yes, I think we are good there. Let's see. There we go. Good stuff. All right. Hi, guys. Hi. First of all, if you have some doTERRA oils around, I have a blend for you. Before we jump into the topic today, it's beautiful. It's going in my diffuser behind me here. Spearmint, lavender, wild orange, and sandalwood. Let's go with that today. Just go ahead and drop a money sign emoji or the word cash below the video if you want to bring up the landing page that I'm going to review with you. I see a lot of you punching that in. Some of you already received that to your DMs earlier this week. You know what? I'm going to take this sweater off, actually. We are getting a cold front here in Florida. Very exciting. Very exciting. And we're coming into sweater weather. So fun. All right. So I think we are ready to dive in. Yes, we are. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, we're going to dive in. Let's do this. So if you are in the Beautiful Life Lab, then you have likely gone through some of the content in this module before. This is the very final module in the assignments that we do every year with that group. This was one of the newer modules that I added in this past year. It's something that I've been wanting to cover for a couple of years now in that program, and probably one of the most requested. So I am really excited to dive into this. Now, what I've done is if you joined me, I think it was 2 months ago, I did a free access version of the calendaring lab, which you guys loved. And I heard from a lot of you after that one that you would love to go through the financial module. And so here we are. And what I've done is I've set up free access to a copycat page of the financial lab that's part of the Beautiful Life Lab program. And so as you're dropping the cash emojis below, you'll be receiving to your DMs the link to the landing page that I am going to basically give an unscripted overview of today. And the reason I love doing this live with you is then, maybe some of the sections we can marinate on a little bit more. If you have questions as I'm going through on specific content, go ahead and you can drop it. If I see it as I'm going, I'll speak to that as we are on live. And then anything that I don't get to, we'll go through at the end. Some of you did submit some questions too, which I will take at the very end as well. So this free access page is going to be up till the end of October. So I would suggest after today, just taking some time to go through some of the things that I cover, because I'm sure you're going to learn something new today. And so even if you don't really count yourself somebody who likes this topic, or maybe you don't necessarily run the finances in your home, that's okay. You're going to learn something that's going to just allow things to be moving a little bit more freely within your finances. And I think it's always good to be aware of what's going on. Hopefully by the end of this, you feel capable and interested in wanting to be more involved in this within your life and within your home. So, all right, I'm going to just very quickly cover some promo info about the lab, because this is something I run. I bring to life every quarter. We do quarterly live streams. So the next one's coming up actually next Sunday, the 20th. So this is good timing if you wanted to jump into the lab. And I do have a 20% off promo code that's active. So you can use that if you want to join us in the lab and then jump right into the quarterly live stream that we're doing next Sunday. And like I said at the start of this, we go through all of the module blocks together as a community group once a year. So the financial lab, we did go through at the start of this year. However, it has so much meat to it, which you're going to see today, that even if you're in the lab and you did go through it already as a group, this might be a good refresh for you. So at the very top of the landing page, you'll find the promo code. If you want to join us in the lab, I'd love to see you in there. Like I said, the next quarterly stream is this Sunday. Okay, so the way that I've organized the content in this module is to do a little bit of house cleaning first and reflection on what our relationship to money and the way it moves in and out of our life is. And so at the very start of this, I talk about cleaning up your actual space within your home where you tend to sit and do your best work, right? So I'll show you what that looks like in a second. I'm going to say this many times throughout this live stream. I think one of the greatest indicators of abundance coming into your life is whether or not you are actively being a good steward of what you currently have. So essentially, you're illustrating that you can be trusted with more. And so in this first section, I really want to weave the importance of what I feel that is, not only when it comes to money, but when it comes to our time and when it comes to our health. Those are the three currencies that we have, right? And at different points of our life, some of them take more, one takes more priority than the other, but those are essentially the three things we're given to steward really well. And the better we steward those three things, the more we're given of those things. That's what I believe. And it's definitely what I've experienced in my own life. A lot of you on right now, and a lot of you that are in the lab are women. And women in general, I find, aren't typically as interested in this topic. I love that you're all on here because it's something that can sometimes feel so overwhelming that they don't know where to start. And so really my heart in sharing this topic is not coming from a place of being a financial expert. I'm not in that industry. You guys know that. However, I have been actively managing my finances since I was 16. And I'm 44 at the time of this recording. So I've been doing this a long time. And I've also done this through many different phases of my life and business, through my first job as a teenager, and then through my 20s and getting married and having more of a professional career, to becoming a mom and launching my own business, to going through startup mode and scale mode and having 6-figure months, at the peak of it, and having at the very start of it 5-figure years where, I remember when I first started as a personal trainer, for example, I was absolutely thrilled to be making $35,000 a year and staying under the tax bracket in Canada where I would have to go into the next level submitting HST and blah, blah, blah. I remember those days so well. And just, being in this work and in this process through a lot of different parts of the bell curve in my life really excites me to share this with you. So I think I have a unique perspective in that, but also if you've been around here for a while, I am somebody who holds very tightly to my values. So I am the same person today in the majority of ways that I was back when I was making $35,000 as a personal trainer. Okay. Money does not change me in that I will not exchange the things that are most important in my life in order to have it. And so I want to weave a little bit of that into this conversation too, which gives us an opportunity to have a little bit more of a unique conversation within this topic, because a lot of the information out there is a little bit tilted masculine, right? It's very heavy in financial advice and investment advice, and rarely do we talk about how important it is that we keep everything in alignment as we're doing that, right? So that intentionality is so important. So at the very top, if you guys have the landing page open, you'll see that I have some worksheets for you there that you can print off. I'm going to touch on them as we go through. So in the very beginning, the very first part of the module, I talk about designing for deep work. So structuring your space, thinking about your time, your personal energy, and how you are establishing a space with the right amount of time for you to be able to do your best work, right? So how does this relate to money? Again, like I said at the start, money is one of the three currencies we're given. So if we aren't stewarding our time really well and our health well, then we're often going to see that we're being careless with our money. In fact, usually, yeah, if one of those things is out of balance, if we're not actively trying to move the needle in those areas and take good care of them, you're going to see at least one of them being sloppy and not really growing. So there are obviously many ways that we can bring money into our life, but if we're not honoring and protecting what we currently have, then it might as well not come in, because we don't have the proper systems and proper reverence in place. So one of the very simple ways that I actively steward what I currently have is I have two very simple basic routines that I do at the start and finish of the day. And I actually gave you a screenshot of those. I'll just read them really quickly for you. I have an opening routine for my day and a closing routine for my day. And you guys know I'm all about sharing simple practices that help us blueprint the kind of life that we want to experience more of, right? So this is just something for you to consider within your day. I'm sure you guys, whether you realize it or not, whether you're actively integrating a routine or not, you have a routine in the morning and at night. There's things that you tend to do. And the question is, are those things really keeping a tight focus on what is most important to you? So I open the day, so super simple, quick tidy, run a load of laundry, do a quick dinner prep, because eating around the table is really important for us. And then when I sit at my desk, I check my doTERRA office. That for me is the biggest passion work in my life. So think about what that is for you. Like, what's the thing you want to make sure you are always keeping a tight focus on, because it's most important within all of the possible generators you have within your work, right? So that's the thing for me. I'm checking in on that, what my plan looks like for the day of serving that business. Then I check my finances every day. So I'm going to share a tool with you guys called Monarch. And it totally changed the game for me, because it brought everything in-house, every way that money was moving in and out of our life. It brought into one central location. I can do a real quick check of it, and I look at it every single morning. So I do not miss a beat when it comes to how money is moving in our life. And this is an example of stewarding something very actively, so that there's no surprises. You know, when we talk about budgeting later on this stream, budgeting is essentially having a job for every dollar that's coming into your life. And so this tool called Monarch, and there's many other tools out there that I have looked at, and I'm sure there's many you guys use. This is my personal favorite, so I'll share that with you when we get there. But this is a way to just really keep a close eye and make sure that everything has the right job, that everything's moving the way you want it to. Then I always look at my calendar. That's my way of stewarding my time. I'm very aware of what I've said yes to for the day, and I take a quick look at the inbox. Anything pressing I need to get back to, same thing with texts, and then I set up any marketing for the day. So this is like a very specific sequence that I do every single morning without fail. I'm saying I maybe 5% of the time in my year, I'm not doing this at the start of the day. That is how baked in this process is, because over time, the more consistent I was with these things that were really important to my life and business, the more I saw everything just start to move in the right direction. So then I have a very simple closing routine. I often actually do this in the sauna. Because I have found, like, if I actually have something I'm doing while I'm doing these things, it's more likely to happen. So I go into the sauna, and after we've tidied the kitchen after dinner, and I clear my inbox, I clear my desktop computer, and I organize photos. And I just whip that into shape, and then the day is set up already for the next day. So I just wanted to ramble off on those two things, morning and ending routine, as a way to emphasize how important I think it is that we have something that is allowing us to manage, again, our time in a very effective way and get everything moving in the right direction. So just something to think about there. Then I give you an image to print for setting up your office space to have better flow. So just some nice ideas, especially if you feel your office is needing a bit of a refresh, because maybe it's feeling tired or disorganized and it's just not a space that you, when you come into, maybe you don't feel inspired to do your best work. So something to look at there. I would print that off. I have an office shop in this section of just helpful tools. Maybe you want to treat yourself to something new, like a treadmill mat for under your standing desk. I love that. I've got mine right next to me here. Okay, and then as we get into the story of your money, so getting into more of the grit behind this module. So in this first section, I'm encouraging you to think about what your actual relationship is with money. So we all tend to carry stories that we maybe didn't realize we have. They're inherited, they're borrowed, they're copied, we all have something when we think about our relationship to money. Maybe it was how our parents talked about money as we were growing up. Maybe it's people we knew, neighbors, friends, families who either had a lot or didn't have a lot, and what we interpreted that to mean. Maybe it's a belief that if you have money, you're greedy and you're not a good person. And so it's important to think about what is our relationship with money, because if we aren't clear on that, and if we hold some of these beliefs about it, then as it does start to move into our life, we will typically do things to sabotage that process. So something I think that is important when it comes to your ability to impact through your work and in your life is how important it is that you work very actively to remove debts, because debts are hooks in your ability to have impact. They will anchor you. They will keep you stuck where you are. So I'm sure I will say this a few times, but I am very big on not having debts of any kind. There are many people who will argue that there are good types of debts, and that, from my perspective, is no different than gambling. So I believe, again, sweep your porch, right? Take care of what you have before you start to look at anything else, meaning work to clear those debts before you start to look into opportunities to invest, right? So that's just, and again, debt can be a money story that we hold to. Then I have a section here on just questions to prepare for more. I'm going to just see if there's anything I want to expand on here without reading each line. Am I fully utilizing the resources I currently have? Am I taking care of myself in the way my future self needs? Do I care more about fitting in than about freedom? So there's some good questions in here just to marinate on. Just think, is this me? Is this something that I feel is limiting my ability to have more, right? I have a section in here as you scroll down about the importance of training ourselves to get comfortable with less consumption, delaying gratification. I think this is really important in this time, because we've become such an instant gratification culture, right? And so it can be really hard when you have these future goals and wanting to have more come into your life to not, if you don't see that happening very quickly, to quit on that or sabotage yourself. And just, even within this, the value of giving consistent, good, hard work. Like, where are my people on here that actually enjoy something being challenging? Because this is really the trap of where we're at right now, I think, is with all of these things that are so flashy keys, just things moving so quickly. We seem to be losing this respect for how important it is to give something the right amount of time and effort, and actually want to get in there and work hard at something to see it off the ground and really see it off the ground. This is why I think we're seeing, especially in these spaces online, we see so many people doing so many things. With the rise of affiliate marketing, for example, so many people leaving the one core passion they have to do 10 other little micro things, and they're just so diluted and distracted because they're just not seeing something through. And this will really block your ability to go to the next level. Doing a lot of things not well will never grow you to that next level. It's it's delusional, actually. Like we need to see something through and have depth and be willing to work hard. Then I go into intentionality, and I talked about this at the start. And this is also an important piece when it comes to the heart set behind financial flow in our life. We want to be really clear on why we're doing something. I have a quote here by Nassim Taleb. The world is split between people who don't know how to start making money and those who don't know when to stop. So we can all think of someone, I'm sure, who has a lot of money but does not have their health or finances, and they would probably exchange a lot of their money for those things. Who has a lot of money but don't have their health or happiness. That's what I meant to say. And I think, yeah, that's a really big one. I mean, I know 7-figure earners that are completely bankrupt in their joy, and they're unhealthy, and they would pay a lot of money to have that. And I also know people that earn $40,000 a year, and they live a very values aligned life. They have a lot of joy, they have a lot of meaning, they have a lot of purpose. And that's really important to recognize, because if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, there won't be an end point, and you're always going to be chasing. So here it's really a conversation about how money and wealth are two different things. I think you know a truly wealthy person by how free they are. You can feel it. They're not somebody who is addicted to their work. That can obviously be unhealthy, but they have that good balance. You see their values expressed through their life, and money is a tool that allows them to be able to do that, and allows them to be able to impact other people to do that. That's what I see money as. It is very simply a tool that just allows us to live our more aligned life. And that does not mean a life of more necessarily, or excess. It's an ability to live in alignment and help other people do that. Okay, so let's get into some of the mechanics of this lab. And again, if you're just hopping in, you can drop a cash emoji in the comments and it'll pull up the landing page that I'm reviewing with you guys. So the first part of this process, and this is a very similar process that we go through in the time lab within the program, where we track where our time is going, how it's moving. And so this requires an uncomfortable level of honesty, especially when it comes to our money. And in order to do this, so I have an expense log here that you can print off. And what would be ideal would be for you to gather 3 to 6 months of all financial statements. So if you're not using a tool like Monarch or QuickBooks, you're going to need to collect these things yourself physically, right? So you want to get all financial statements for debit and credit card. You want to basically get an average of how money is moving in and out, and just so you can look at it, because this is also going to help you decide whether you want to invest in some sort of platform to bring everything into one place. Then once you have an idea of how your money's moving in and out, what your expenses are, you're getting your averages for the categories, and this will take some time, right? So just go ahead and print your worksheet and then plan for this, right? When I didn't have a tool that I was using for this, I would have I had it in my calendar, it was called my CFO date. And I would gather all of these things. I did this for years, where I would scrub it. I would look for every expense, how things were going in and out. Do not put that off for tax time, right? Like, do this regularly, where you're flossing your accounts and looking for how things are moving, so you're catching things a lot quicker. And it's going to save you so much time in the long run. So I recommend a monthly date to start. That might be how you do this with this expense log. Then once you're aware of how things are moving, now you're ready to create your budget. And this is what I like to call being an architect with your money. Because really, your budget is just a picture of what your money is doing, right? If we want to know what we're valuing in life, we can either look at our calendar, we can see where our time's going, or we can look at our budget, because where we're investing is the life we're creating, the future life. And so I also love budgeting, because as you realize how things are moving, you can then make a decision to make them move different. And this is what we do with our time in the time log, or in the time lab. So when you know how your time is being spent, you can then design a day that looks more like how you want it to look. You're going to do the same thing with your money. Budgeting is basically giving yourself permission to live a plan. So it creates no shame or surprise around how money is moving because you've already decided. What can feel exhilarating, I think, sometimes is the excitement of just, in the moment spending, right? Whereas if you have an actual budget for those things, if you knew you were budgeting, let's say $500 for clothing every month, when you go to the mall and you see that something, the new pair of jeans or something that you want, you just think like, does this fit within my what I've allocated towards this? It actually gets really cool, really fun as you get going once you're clear on how things are moving. So, for example, for me, I value feeling my best and having access to healthy, clean food and the tools that I need to live a healthy, holistic life. So I allocate much more of my budget towards that on a daily basis than I do towards buying shoes, purses, or other things that have a double negative, like drinking alcohol, for example. I haven't had alcohol in years. But if I was to add up for you what my daily spending might look like when it comes to supplements, powders, essential oils, things like that, we're probably looking at, $10 to $15 a day in that. And so that might be another person's Starbucks or glass of wine at night. But what I do is I allocate what I want towards the things that are creating how I want to feel in my life. And sometimes there's hard decisions that need to take place when you're looking at your funds. If where your money is going is not creating the life or the version of you that you want to be moving towards, then you've got to make some changes, right? So your finances, your financial statements will tell the story of that, where that's going. So the three biggest controllable expenses for almost all people. Number one is housing. Number two is transportation. And number three is food. So when you're first getting started with trying to bring your expenses tighter, look at these three areas and think, how can you leverage these big controllable expenses to have some relief coming in? So for example, housing. Do you have a basement? Do you have a room within your home that you could potentially Airbnb, or could you get a roommate? Just throwing examples out there with that. Transportation wise, could you downsize from 2 cars to 1 car? Could you carpool? Could you rent your car out on Turo, which is like the Airbnb of cars? Excuse me. This is going to keep going for a minute. With food, could you implement more meal planning and apply? So we have a kitchen lab in the program that would help you reduce your spending by likely 50% if you just started being more planful with your meals and having some strategies around where you're shopping. So those are the three big ones you want to look at first before you start tightening up. Then to create your budget, I have a whole middle section here as you're going down the page on strategies towards this. A good approach and again, your budget is nothing more than you're assigning a job for every dollar that you're earning so that as it's coming in, you already know where it's going. So a pretty good ratio here is the 50-30-20. 50% goes towards fixed expenses like your car, your home, utilities. Don't forget to set aside tax money. Something I'll mention later that I like to do is I pull that out. Now I have to pay quarterly to the IRS anyway, but basically every month I pull out what is going to be going to the IRS quarterly, and I put it into a high interest savings account. So it's set aside, but it's earning money while it's sitting there. So I'll talk about that at the end. So 50%, like I said, goes towards fixed expenses, like your car, your home, your utilities. 30% could go towards your flexible expenses, your food, like whether you're eating at restaurants, whether you're cooking at home, travel, maybe not so essential but things that, yeah, you do need to have, but there's some flexibility there in how you spend your money there. Clothing would be an example of that. So that's like a 30% bucket. And then 20% goes towards savings, timing, investing. So that's usually what you'll see is a good breakdown if you take all of the money you have coming in and how you're assigning a general budget to it. Then the next section is opening the spreadsheet that I've given you here, clicking file, make a copy of it. Here, it's going to have automations built in that will allow you to input how much money you have coming in, and then putting in also what you know your expenses are. So that that expense log that I gave you at the start, once you've gathered 3 to 6 months of expenses, you've got your averages, right? You're going to input what your averages were, and then this will basically show you. So this is like a free tool, right? That a paid tool like Monarch would do for you. But this is a great place to start. So this is a great spreadsheet to make a copy of when you know the income that you have coming in, and when you know your averages for your expenses, you can go in and just input all those things, and you'll see what your overall money story is looking like. Okay, the next section, I go into the value of your time. So here it's, okay, so you know where you're at. Now it's a question of, let's look at where you're going. Where do you want to be going, right? You've got your baseline, you know what you're making, you know what your expenses are, you know the story of your money. So now play a little with this. Where do you want to go next? So what you first want to identify is how many hours are you working when you are wanting to buy something? I started doing this in high school with my very first job. I can remember going to the mall and thinking, I love this pair of jeans, but I'm going to have to work 7 hours at the coffee shop to pay for these jeans. Do I really want them that bad? Like I started practicing this way of thinking where I really wanted to value what I was purchasing. Now, that didn't stop me from going through my 20s and being just crazy silly with my spending and like, you know, we all go through those phases where I had way too many clothes and I was still buying more and more and more. I'm sure there's some psychology there that needs to be looked into, but filling voids. So anyway, that's something I started when I was really young, where I would just get really honest with how much my time was going to be used in order to physically pay for that thing. Now, what you can do right now as you think about where you are and where you want to go is first identify what is your current hourly wage. So how many hours do you actually work? This is especially tricky if you're a business owner. If you work for somebody, you're probably pretty clear on what your hourly wage is and how many hours you're working. But for those of you that own a business, or maybe you have multiple income streams going on, this is where you need to get really honest with yourself. Like, how much time are you actually working per day, per week? And what is your actual income? Figure out what your hourly rate is, because that will help you make some decisions when it comes to your time and how you're doing things. For example, some of you might be at the point where you are so stretched, there's so much you want to do, but you know you just need some extra help. So it could be that you're bringing somebody into your home to help with your kids, or help with the laundry, or help with the meals, whatever those things are that are more time consuming, so that it's freeing you up to invest more into your business, which you know you could make more in that hour than how much it costs you to pay somebody to come and drive your kids from A to B or help with laundry, that sort of thing. I did that for a few years. Where I have now landed is in a place where I love doing those things within our home. And so it's more of choosing joy over more, if that makes sense. So, you know, you go in and out of different phases for sure. But anyway, this section here, the value of your time, is really helpful. And I do give you a worksheet a little bit further down on identifying your current hourly wage and then figuring out what is your desired hourly wage. And, you know, for example, if your goal is to make $100,000 a year, you need to find an opportunity that's going to pay you, I think it's about $370 or $380 per day if you're working 5 days a week. So getting really clear on, and also remember, okay, why 100,000? Where are you at right now? Why is 100,000 the next goal, or why is 500,000 the next goal? Is that just so that you can have that? Is that to actually create a life that you even value? Or is that what's been normalized by your social circle? It's so good to pick this apart. And I'm sitting here looking at you as somebody who I've done a lot of things in my life. I've been at a lot of different earning levels and lifestyle levels. And I mean, it's just the more that you have coming in, the more you feel at times pressured, or that you feel like your lifestyle has to somehow match that. And this was always a dissonance point for me, is that I didn't care about that bouginess and all of that, So it was interesting. I want to share something with you. How many of you know that we left Canada? We're going on, well, kind of 4 years ago. We were like in and out, 6 months here, 6 months in Canada for those first 2 years of 2020, 2021. And so officially 2022 is when we left. It was so interesting what happened through that. We were just constantly reacting to the situation going on. And what I want to share within this topic is financially, you guys, we got knocked down huge. Like, I don't know if you knew this, but if you are not purposefully, planfully making your plan to leave a country, it's like a sudden divorce, and you are pretty much taken for the value of what that country sees you as a citizen, the value of you as a citizen. And so what was interesting, what reminded me to share this right now, is at that time we had a really big home in Canada. It was paid off, and we had our home here in Florida. And it was just so wild, because here we were, like, in this moment during 2021 where I realized we got to go, because the things that we valued the most were now on the table as being stripped away. And, I'm talking health, I'm talking freedom, I'm talking just the kind of future I wanted for my girls, and we wanted for our girls. And so we had to make some really tough decisions that cost us huge financially, like level set at us, almost as if I hadn't worked for like 7 years. And at the end of the day, you know what the greatest takeaway was from that? It didn't matter. It totally didn't matter, because the things that we valued the most are our health, our freedom, our peace, our safety, our family. We had that. And so it didn't matter. And the reason I shared this now is, as we're talking about this and just our intention behind why we're working and earning and all the things, is like, at the end of the day, when you're pushed against the wall, and a lot of you were in 21, 22, when you realize what matters most to you, money at that point is just a tool. And I'll tell you this, I basically worked for 5 to 7 years in order for us to be able to leave Canada. That's what ended up happening. Gone. But here we are, and it was worth it. And so I really understood how money is a tool. I had no idea that was coming, because again, we weren't, that was not the plan. And, if that is your plan, is to leave the country that you are in, you definitely want to have a plan. You want to work towards that, because if you don't, there's a lot of ways what you have will be on the table. So anyway, didn't want to sidebar there, but my point here is, it's so important to understand why you're doing what you're doing and what you're working towards, right? So, and whether that's creating the life that actually matters to you. All of the things did not matter to me in the moment when I realized that my children's safety and future and health were under attack. And truly, I hope some of you, even if you didn't agree with me years ago, might be seeing that now. And I only say that because it is important to understand, like, you don't want to be in a position where you're caught, whether it's with your health or financially. You don't want to be caught off guard. You want to be very aware of what you're dealing with, who you're dealing with, and just be more prepared, right? So anyway, let's move on. So scrolling down, you'll see a worksheet called the financial heartbeat. This is where you can track your hourly wage, your values, just bring it all in so you can really have a plan of, okay, what is my goal? Why is that my goal? Where am I wanting to go? And because this goes into the next section where, okay, you know where you're at, you know where you want to go. So now how are you going to get there? This is where we get into conversations around growing what you have. And, even before you get into investing in something, I think it's so wise for you to look at how things are moving and how you could tighten those things up even better, more efficiently. Again, this is about being a good steward of those things so that before you get into investing into something else, again, you don't want to be kind of drowning and then taking on more, right? So in the growing forward section, when you know your income number, what's your number that's going to allow you to live the lifestyle that is important to you? What's the income number that's going to allow you to give in a way that's important to you? What's the number you need to be earning in order to have all debts paid off? Those are kind of the three big questions you want to be asking before you're looking at adding anything else on. And then you want to set a money goal. So once you have accomplished, you've got your bases covered, you've got your debts either paid down or on a good trajectory to be paid down. Now it's time to start looking at how you can learn and earn more and then invest in different ways to really get your money moving and flowing. Some of you might not be in that position for a couple years. You might be in a position right now where you're starting. I mean, our economy absolutely sucks right now. It's terrible. It's terrible how prices have gone up and just the value of our dollar has gone down and everything is just like, this is looking like 2008 all over again. You can tell we're in crisis mode already, but we're really heading into something. And so a lot of you, myself included, are looking at this right now and you're thinking, okay, I got to bring it in tight. I have got to make sure every dollar I'm spending is where it should be. And honestly, if your spending is not going towards things that free up your time or increase your health, you really need to second look at that. Like, because again, those other two big currencies, like at this point, I've got a really tight budget. Like I know where everything's going, and our things that promote health in our body, that's like a non-negotiable, right? Because I know without our health, we don't have anything else, right? So but we keep it very clean, very tight. We're not going to restaurants. We're not, again, I said this earlier, like we're not hitting up coffee shops every day. We don't drink alcohol. We don't so everything's pretty tight and clean so that I can keep investing towards things like our essential oils, like our supplements, things that are bringing more health into our life and into our home. So that's just something I wanted to mention, is just, it's a really good time to scrub it and make sure that you don't have reckless spending, that you're not ending up at Sephora dropping a couple $100 on makeup and skincare every 2 weeks just because you're having a bad day. Like, this is the time to really get honest, because we're in something right now. Like, these are rough waters, what we're dealing with, and there's going to be a big fallout. I think we're going to see that happen in real estate. We took a huge loss on our house when we sold it in Canada, and that was almost a year ago, and it's still going. Everything's sitting on the market for so long. I mean, it is just, you're going to see it hit real estate pretty bad soon. And so you got to brace for impact right now, right? So, okay, I got to stay on track here. when you've got an idea of where you want to go, because you know where you're at, you want to start just having baked in dedication towards this process. So I mentioned having a monthly CFO date, just something in your calendar, reoccurring, automated, where you block off 1 to 2 hours a month, where you're looking at your spending, you're paying off credit card balances. And I want to say here, I'm a big fan of paying for everything with credit cards. Jury's out. A lot of people in the space will say cash only. No, I definitely think you should pay for everything with credit cards, but pay those balances off every month, like as you can, right? Because credit cards, again, bring everything into one spot. I don't like using, I mean, I like the idea of using cash, so we keep cash as a, well, that we keep it circulating, so we're not under this tight control. However, from a budgetary and tracking purpose, I'm a big fan of using credit cards so that you can actually see where everything's going and usually earn points along the way through your spending. But anyway, I just want to make sure I mentioned that. And then if you own your own business, uploading business receipts, categorizing them. Again, this is something you can bring in-house through a tool like Monarch. I've mentioned that a few times. I've got a link for you for a free, I think it's a 30-day trial in here. I absolutely love it. I think you guys are going to really find it's a game changer when it comes to managing your finances. So have a look at it, do the trial for sure. And then this 1 hour a month will actually turn into just a quick, like 2 minutes a day, which I guess if you extrapolate that out is technically 1 hour a month. But I prefer just having a quick look at it every day so I can catch things as they happen. Okay, so I don't want to spend time talking about too much more in this section. There's the link to Monarch. You'll see as you scroll down. Definitely give it a try for 30 days. What else do I want to say about Monarch? So it just makes everything look really clean, pretty. What it does is you give it access to, and it's protected access. You give it access to your spending, your bank cards, credit cards. It pulls everything in, and you will take a couple of hours setting it up and teaching it how you want it to categorize things, so that then as everything's coming in, it'll automatically categorize it. So when something comes in from doTERRA, for example, let's say you just placed an order for essential oils, you tell it that you want to categorize that as healthcare, and it'll put it into that bucket. It will also have a section where you assign budgets to every category. So maybe your healthcare budget every month is $500. And so when your doTERRA order comes out, it pulls it out of that bucket, and you can see that in real time. You can see how everything's moving, and it's just beautiful. Okay. I want to take another 10 minutes with you guys for the last section, and then we'll wrap up. Again, if you're just hopping in, you can either comment or DM me with a cash emoji or the word cash, and this landing page will come up that I'm leaving open until the end of October. Okay, so I have a section here on earning opportunities, ways to diversify your income. So for example, affiliate marketing, selling digital products, creating things like evergreen webinars, or social selling, network marketing. Many of you know I'm in doTERRA. I've been doing doTERRA as a leader now since 2014. And one of the reasons I chose them is because they're a legacy company. I'm not interested in shiny keys, fluff. Like, I want to be in an actual act of service that betters the world. And so this is why I chose them. Now, one of the reasons I love doTERRA as a pathway is you can choose between different opportunities. You can be a wellness advocate like me, and you're unlimited in how you build and how you create and how you earn, like completely unlimited. Or you can be an affiliate sharing product links. There's thousands, millions probably at this point of affiliate opportunities out there in the world. It's really the way products are moving now, right? So this is a path. If you want to just be an affiliate, then you're wanting to kind of dabble here and there, right? You're doing multiple other things. You're not looking at something to go deep and abundant with, but just scatter yourself across multiple things. That's not a bad thing at all. It just depends on what you want your story to be, right? Again, I think it's so important to have one thing in your life that you're actually applying good old-fashioned hard work to and really growing roots with depth. And doTERRA is that for me. It's something I care about very much. It's something that my impact is maximized through. And so this is why you don't see me dabbling with affiliate marketing, right? But when you see people doing a lot of things, they're not doing any one thing really well, but that is probably more what they're seeking. They want to just diversify. They want to have a whole bunch of things going on, and they're not focused on depth, and that's their goal. Okay, so I have other opportunities in here that I've linked you up with, different referral programs, Airbnb, Turo, high interest savings accounts. Let's talk about that for a second. I'm a huge fan of having an account that you have where you're just plopping your money into and it's earning 4.5, sometimes 5% interest, and you're not doing a single thing, and you can withdraw that money whenever you want. This is such a smart first way of investing. I mentioned earlier that I do this with money that I'm allocating towards taxes. So I plop it into this high interest account to sit there so it's ready to go. So at tax time, there's no surprises. But as it's sitting there, it's earning 4.5% interest. And so I would absolutely suggest you do this, even if you're just putting like $100 in there every month or every couple of months. It's definitely going to earn more than what it's earning just sitting in your typical Royal Bank account. So I use Amex, American Express. They have a high interest savings account. And what I like about it is, again, I think they actually just dropped their interest rate from 4.5 down to 4.25, I think, whatever. And but what I love about it is I'm able to move money like instantly to my bank accounts. So when I'm paying quarterly taxes, I will just grab whatever amount I need, put it into my bank account, send the check out to the IRS while we're still doing that. Okay. Anyway, I've got other things here, different like Amazon shops, Poshmarking clothing, just lots of little ideas, ways to bring that little bit of extra in. But again, when it comes to investing, I definitely suggest you look at the high interest savings account before you do anything else. So if we look at it, the next section on investing, there's a lot of different ways to, when you have that extra happening, you've got a little bit of a surplus at the end of your month after all your things are taken care of, you're obviously at a point where you want to look at investing, right? So there's a lot of different ways to do this. I mentioned the high interest savings. There's real estate, like having Airbnbs, there's stocks, there's bonds, there's crypto, mutual funds, EFTs. One tool I link you up with is the Motley Fool. That's a good one if you just want to get a nice, quick, free education on all the different ways to invest. Okay, so here's my experience and 2 cents for what it's worth. Number one, high interest savings, zero work. It's just, you just put your money in there and it's going to sit and earn. And you don't have to do anything. And you're going to earn 4.25, 4.5%, 5% sometimes for doing nothing. From there, you guys know we run Airbnbs here in Jupiter, Florida. Come visit us. We'd love to host you. They are so cute and we love doing it. However, they are a lot of work. Okay. And if I was to open the books and just share with you, I know exactly what the return on investment with those are. We make anywhere between 6 to 7% returns after all expenses are paid. One of the issues here where we live is, and very specifically where we live here in Jupiter, Florida, our property taxes are through the roof, insane. They just keep going up literally, when did we buy this home? 2017, our property taxes were 11 grand. This year, they're over 20 grand. Okay, that's just to give you a quick look. Like that's in less than 10 years. And they've been going up about like almost $1,500 a year. So anyway, our expenses are quite high. Okay, so maybe where you are, your returns will be greater. But my point here is the compression from, high interest savings where we have to do nothing and earn 4.5% to running Airbnbs that, are a lot of work, just to earn an extra 2%. I don't know. Time will tell. Anyway, then from there, I think real estate's really smart. I think you cannot go wrong investing in land, especially if we're coming into an unfortunate situation. There's going to be a lot flooding the market. So if you have some extra that you're working to building up right now, that might be what you're looking at. From there, you're getting into more double-digit returns when you get into the stock market, crypto, but a lot of volatility, right? So you have to know what kind of risks you're willing or interested in taking. I personally don't play the market. I don't invest in crypto. Crypto for me is just feels dark, actually. And I'm going to get educated here in the comments in minus 2 seconds by crypto fans, but that's a gut nudge. Like the stock market, I have played in the past a little bit. However, and we were forced into putting Chris's, when he left the fire department, when we left Canada, we had to put that into the market. That was another fun surprise, that you actually can't take out your full pension. They're going to tell you where you're going to put your pension. And we had to put it in the stock market. That was lovely. Okay. So anyway, my point here is when you start to have extra, when you start to have that bit of surplus, you want to pretty quickly have a plan for how you can get it moving. Put it into a savings account that has 4 to 5% interest right away. So it's just earning, right? Until you decide. We're going to be coming into a time where there's going to be a lot more real estate, good deals on the market. So, that might be something you look into. But okay, at the bottom section here, I just have some promo codes for you guys on certain things, like Monarch, Keeper, which is a tax app, the American Express metal cards. There's just some like little hook you ups there. But yeah, okay, so that brings to the end. I didn't and couldn't, obviously, on this live take you into the tools like the spreadsheet or like Monarch, and show you exactly how to use them, but they're pretty intuitive. Like once you input your information, it'll make sense. So let me just knock off a few questions that were submitted. And if you guys have any, just drop them in there now. Okay. How have you been teaching your girls about money and budgeting? So my oldest, Chloe, she's 15 and a half, not quite 15 going on 30. And so she's going to be starting her first job soon. But, and my youngest she's turning 13 this week. So my girls are kind of at that age where they definitely understand how money's made and that your time has value and everything you buy costs you your time, right? So we talk about that. Basically up until now, the way that they've earned money is just through helping out around the house or in my business. So I pay them in my business. A lot of you, if you own a business, you definitely want to be paying your kids. And I can't quite remember what the cutoffs and the rules are there, but I want to say it's around 13 grand a year that you can pay your kids up until they start. I think you can still supplement their income when they start working. So you just want to make sure that anything above that, they would be paying tax on. So there's that. And then we have one of those skylights. Hi. We have one of those skylights, which is basically a visible family calendar that has I think it's called the chores section, but they have their standard weekly things just to do to help around the house. But then there's bonusable work on there. So there's tasks that I will pop on there when I know their time is a little bit more freed up. They're pretty intense with their homeschool schedule, but when their time is more freed up, I'll have things on there that they can choose to do to earn more. So also, I feel very comfortable taking this approach of matching what their efforts bring in when it comes to a goal. So when it comes to Chloe, she's going to have her driver permit soon and getting her license in the summer when she turns 16 and then working towards a car. We're going to match her efforts based on what she brings in. We're doing another missions trip this year where she knows she's working towards a $1,400 bill in order to go. But I'm going to match what she brings in for that too. So that's just an approach that I'm taking right now that I feel comfortable with. But that's pretty much the extent of that with the kids. Again, our kids will always, they see what we do, right? They learn through what we do. So our kids have grown up knowing we don't recklessly spend. We don't eat out all the time. We cook all of our meals at home for the most part. Maybe once a week we eat out. And they see me actively in our money situation, like, very on top of it. So they're growing up with that. And I would expect that that'll be something that they'll care about too. Okay. I know nothing about investing. Do you have any resources or tips for a beginner? Yeah, I'll just recap what I just went through really quick. High interest savings account is a no-brainer. Do that first before you do anything else. But before you invest, period, get rid of debts, right? Again, proponents of good debt will say, have good debt. And this is where a lot of the thinking with a mortgage comes in, right? That's seen as good debt so that you're able to put your money into something else that is earning more than the cost of the debt. The problem with that is you're not in control, because who you own a mortgage with or whatever person you're indebted to, credit card companies, whatever, things can change on a dime, and you could suddenly be in a situation where they're increasing the rates, and that completely you're hemorrhaging any earnings that you had going on over here. Chris is walking in the front door and showing me that he's watching the live right now. Yeah, say hi now that I know you're on. You're hemorrhaging from anything you're earning, right? To now pay this increased debt that might come in. So my take is clear the debts first, then move into a high interest savings account between 4 to 5% interest. Then you're looking at real estate, potentially something that is a little more safe. Once you have some good income being generated in these investments, then you might be wanting to get into play mode with some things and take on some higher risk. So I just started angel investing in a new startup company. Again, I'm still not playing the stock market aside from what we were forced into doing with Chris's pension. I just don't like the volatility of it. But if something is like an absolute yes for me, like I would never invest in a company on the stock market just because it has high returns if it's a company that totally goes against my morals, right? And I feel like that's so much of what that game is. It's just like, oh, just invest here and look away. No. So that's just my personal take. But you will have double-digit returns many times in the stock market. You just got to be willing to ride that out and not have a heart attack when you see, you wake up one morning and you've just lost double digits, right? Okay, how do you help you in a budget? This is this is one of your top 3 controllables. So have a meal plan, have consistent ordering of groceries and potentially delivery. So I go through this in the Healthy Kitchen Blueprint, if you guys have that. It's also a module within the Beautiful Life Lab. It's called the Kitchen Lab, where I go into this and just how to have a meal plan. And actually, one of the things we're doing on the quarterly live stream next Sunday is I want the group to all do a refresh on their top 20 to 30 recipes. So they have a really good plan to rock and roll through the fall, winter of things they're rotating. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit next week if you join us. Do you still work with the Canadian dollar? Not if I don't have to. I don't know what specifically you're asking there, but I do have accounts within Canada still. And Monarch, the tool that brings everything in, it does work cross-border. So I have some Canadian accounts in there and US accounts, and it plays nice. Okay. A lot of these were duplicate questions, but I think that just about covers it. We just been over an hour. If you're just hopping in, this will stay on the wall here. I've also got it on Facebook on the Whole Fit brand page. No, Chris is not yet a firefighter here in Florida, but I think he is going to apply when we open, Jupiter's opening a department next year. or no, 2026 actually. It's 2025 in my head already, guys. This is not good. Every time I write the date, I'm writing 2025. Nice. All right. Quite a few of you hopping in, hopping out, hopping back in. I don't know if my signal is down, but hopefully I got to some of the main points within this. I think, okay, here's what I want to say as we wrap this up. Anything in life that we're avoiding is usually just because we are overwhelmed at the idea of it. And so I think this is such a good thing to dive into right now, especially before we get into the holiday season, and especially at the intersection of this, at the time of this recording, when we are in a real hot mess as an economy, and there are going to be things changing quite rapidly. Everything's very volatile right now when it comes to just our dollar, the value of our dollar, inflation. So it's such a good time to get a really clear picture of how things are moving. It's just such a good time to do this work and just get everything really cleaned up. Like I think it's tempting sometimes just to do like, la, 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 la. I don't need to know how my money is moving, where it's going. I just want to go out and spend. I get it. Sometimes we're in those seasons of life where I remember reading an article once about how the market could predict that the economy was crashing and we were coming into a recession was by the amount of red lipstick that women were purchasing, because they were falling into a depressive state. They knew where things were going and they just wanted to feel good in the moment. So they'd go out and buy red lipstick. I think we're there. When you see just how drawn we are to the clickbait and the quick shopping and the Amazon ads and all the fashion being pushed on, like just buy now, buy now, buy now, all this, like it's so much at the wrong time. And you don't want to be someone who's caught as things continue to go in the direction they're clearly going. So take this as a call to action, get it cleaned up. There's lots of great tools I've put on this free access module. I'm going to leave it up until the end of October. If you want to join us in the lab, use promo code INSIDER20. That'll take 20% off. Once you pay, you're in. So, and I run this quarterly. We get together in the Zoom room or in the Facebook group, and we take different topics throughout the year. And then once a year, we go through all the modules together. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this content. I'll probably do another free access lab in the new year, probably the Vision Lab, because we're all about that, the start of the year. And then, I like doing this. I like bringing certain modules to life as we go throughout the year. So bye for now, and we'll see you soon.